From my own perspective, I think I didn't have the words to understand what I was feeling. So, like I said, it was a great work environment. I really liked my colleagues, and I'm not talking about my team in particular, but I could feel that I was different, and I didn't know if that was something wrong with me. Should I adapt, for example? I'm in the Netherlands. Of course, I firmly believe in adapting to the culture. But that is the difficult question. How much do we each need to adapt ourselves to form a team? And what the work or what the theory in intercultural communication is that you can have your culture and I can have my culture, but I believe, okay, let's create a third culture that is a mix. So if you have a team with 5 different nationalities, but you are based in the Netherlands, okay, what is our way of working? Some things will be very Dutch, of course, but it's then how do we create a new normal, you could say, a new, yeah, way of working, and I didn't know this was missing for me. Um, I didn't realize that I needed the vocabulary, to be honest. It is only now when I've learned these words, I think, "Oh, that's what was happening." I didn't I thought I was being very clear with my communication. My colleagues didn't understand me sometimes. Why is that? That was cultural. And if I'd known that at the time, I think it could have made things a lot easier. Yeah, I think practically we're seeing big changes in the diversity and inclusion field. So you will see, for example, a lot of companies have trainings on unconscious bias and on, for example, women's empowerment, which are all great things. And those are becoming a lot more common. It is normal for every team or every individual in a company to have to do these trainings, for example. What I see now is that we are moving one step further. So that is being established, and now we need to maybe start looking at things which are a little bit more uncomfortable. And sometimes it's that is why people have trouble approaching because they think, "Oh, it's uncomfortable to talk about." But what I say, and what a lot of people say is we need to get comfortable with the uncomfortable. Otherwise, we are not going to make progress. And my job is not to come into any organization and say, "Oh, you're doing everything wrong." No, my job is to say, "We are all human. I am biased, you are biased, a manager is also biased. But how can we get together and make sure that these biases are not working against us?" So, in practical terms, I would say if you are a team member of an organization, of a company, and you feel, "Oh, I would like to have a little bit more understanding about how the different cultures in my team work together." There doesn't have to be a problem. Then I think it's worth speaking to your manager and saying, "Look, I've heard about this training. Would you be interested in looking at it?"
That is if you know, but if you don't know about it, it's another thing.
Mm,
So you have two problems, two challenges
mm.
that you have to step over before getting to the manager.
Very true. And actually, that is one of the hardest things for me, as an entrepreneur is people don't know what they don't know, right? They don't know they need my services until they hear about them. And that's perfectly acceptable. But what my job is now, I need to get the word out there. And thanks to platforms like yourself, I'm able to speak and say, look, this is what I can help you with. And as I mentioned, we said intercultural awareness, but awareness is step one. We want behavior change. So even though I use the term intercultural awareness, that's really the basis for then saying, okay, now how do we change our behavior? Because awareness on its own is not enough. And we all know that. Um, Yeah, so I think visibility, once people know that these services exist, that is a good start. Um, but indeed, they need to know that such a thing exists, and I have to say it's getting a lot more popular now. Um, People know the importance of cultural diversity. My mission is for people to really see the value in diversity, not to see it as something that you need to have or a tick box exercise or something that, oh, the law says we need diversity. No, we need it because it makes us better. It makes organizations perform better. You know, if you're looking at purely finances, and I know realistically that is something that we need to look at, teams that are intercultural, they have better results, they have better dynamics, they produce more. And of course, that shouldn't be the reason you want to do it. It should be an outcome, right? So the way I see it is it is beneficial to everyone. And like you mentioned, you know, a concrete example. I've been working with a couple of companies, and one of them said, "Look, all our staff need to do training, but how do we do it? You know, it's such a big topic." So what we've started doing now is during the onboarding, when a new staff member joins, intercultural awareness is part of the onboarding process. And, you know, that can be in small groups, depending how much a company is growing. Of course, you don't have new people every day, but maybe every few months you do a session with the new people. And then you can introduce them to these concepts so that when they go onto the work floor, they already have this background information. And that is, I'm finding that that has been really successful because otherwise, you know, it's overwhelming. How do you train everybody? It's very difficult. But what I say is you need to start somewhere. And I'm really pleased that you mentioned I've been doing this for a year. And yes, I've been doing it for a year full time. But in my previous roles, I was also doing training. So it gave me a great opportunity in a way to practice everything that I'm doing now. And I see that I see the feedback from the teams who I have worked with. They say, for me, it makes me so happy when they say, "Oh, I didn't think of it like that. And now that you have told me about this, it's changed my perspective on my colleague in India." Or now I understand why my Dutch colleague does this. You know, instead of seeing it as a negative, it can really be seen as something, okay, we know how we're going to work around this.
Mhm, mhm.
And
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
started,
and
yeah,
yeah, it's great to hear you say as well the minds and the perspective change. They get, it that's key. You have a great mission, and I think you have a vision, a long-term vision where you want to go with your company. Um, Take us there.
I think really my long-term vision is that I'm no longer needed. I think when we get to the stage where people don't need intercultural training because they know it, then I think, wow, you know, and that probably won't be in my lifetime. I'm not, I know that, but I think that is what I would love to get to. You know, I'm very passionate. I will always want to be teaching, and for me also the research side of this field. You mentioned one of my long-term goals. One of my long-term goals is actually to see, are we really, as intercultural trainers, are we being as intercultural as we should be? And are we just using Western sources and Western research because that is where the money and the funding is? Or are we looking at all the amazing work that's done on the other side? So I think I have two visions. One is I would love to contribute to the research of this field. And two is I would love to never need to teach it again. But yeah, maybe in 50 years, who knows?
who are the kind of clients that you're looking for? Because you have a lot of companies. Which kind
Mm,
of companies? Which kind? You know, share that with us. The audience wants to know. I think by now.
sure. And I think that's the hardest part for me because my client base is so wide. Because it doesn't matter whether you're a company that's working in finance or you're a company that works in IT or, you're a restaurant. For me, my target market is really mixed teams. So teams that have a lot of diversity, or maybe teams that work, for example, half in the Netherlands, half somewhere else. And so for me, it's not so much the content of the companies that they do, it's more the how they are made up. Um, and like you said, I tailor make each course. So I of course have a basic package, which is about awareness. But then for me, a very important part is I spend a lot of time on speaking to the team lead or the manager before the training starts. And there I find out what are the nationalities, do you meet physically? Is it virtual? Have you met in person? So I think considering the psychological or the psychology behind a team is super important for the training to be effective. So yeah, long story, any team that has a diverse group within them, or that works across cultures. So you could be 100% Dutch group, but you always work with China, for example. So that is a different type.
Annelie, where can our audience find you?
Well, I have my website, which is anneliewambeek.com, and we'll be able to share that. And I think also on LinkedIn, that is where I am very active. So if you're interested kind of in the work that I'm doing, or I'm also very open to having a virtual coffee or a real coffee with people, because I think having a click is really important. Anybody can say they're a trainer, but I fully understand, you might want to speak to me, see what my style is, because I very much believe in collaborative learning. People learn from each other. I'm there to facilitate the space, um, and to help them. So I would say the best way to contact is, of course, email, my website, LinkedIn, or just reach out and we can have a Zoom call. That's also easy.
Okay, awesome, awesome. And all this information will be at the end of this video as well for our audience to copy, to to make to use to contact you. And now, Annelie, we are coming at the end of our episode from this week. And I'm so glad we could enter and in-depth this topic a little bit today. And I guess, I hope that we will meet each other again in the future to hear more about it from another perspective, another point of view that will bring us and help so we can together help others that's watching as well. For you that you are watching and you enjoy this episode, don't forget to subscribe on my channel and to like. But coming back to the topic of today, it's very sensitive, as I said in the beginning, but dare to talk about it. If you are on the work floor and you experience some things like that, talk with your manager. And if you see this episode, it's not just for coincidence. I personally don't believe in that, and professionally, I don't believe it in. Don't believe that too. Everything comes on your way for a reason, and if you feel like this is my situation, I have to handle on it. Don't wait until you get a burnout. Don't wait that the depression will solve for itself. Try to look inside of you what's going on. And maybe you discover that this is going on and that you need some help. And maybe the help is here today for you. And manager, business owner, entrepreneurs, you're watching me. I know you're watching. If you feel like I need to put this in my a company, I need to make it a topic on each HR department, just do it. just do it. If you need any information and you want to call Annelie, do that. Especially that you can call me. Sure, I can talk with you and I give you a lot of information about it. But Annelie is the one who can train, who can give the information, and she have a big perspective where she's coming from and the experience to talk about it as well. So be my guest and just do what you've got to do to make that change in your company, okay? So I invite you to stay with me. And there is another, yes, we have another video. It's coming along, very interesting topics. And I'm changing now to Dutch because I have my Dutch audience as well. Dankjewel voor het kijken. Lieve kijkers. En ik denk dat dit heel interessant is voor jou om te zien, want dat is de reden waarom je hier bent. En als dit jouw situatie is op de werkvloer, dat je voelt dat je dit meemaakt, absoluut contact opnemen. Praat met je manager. Zoek hulp, want hulp is er. Nu weet je dat wij er zijn. Annelie is er en zij is bezig op deze onderwerp haar licht te laten schijnen en haar ervaringen te delen en vooral haar kennis. Zij kan een verschil maken zodat jij niet in dat situatie blijft waar je zit, maar dat je wel gewoon een happy werkvloer kan creëren. Startende bij jezelf. Hè, door te veranderen wat niet zo goed gaat met jou. Oké? Nou, laten we elkaar vooral in de gaten houden. Blijf op mijn kanaal. Er komt een volgende video aan, volgende aflevering. Maar voor nu, vooral liken, abonneer op mijn kanaal. En uiteraard, ik ben blij dat je er bent. En fantastisch om jou ook op deze manier te inspireren. Tot de volgende video. Bye. Toch bijzonder dat elk ondernemer zijn eigen pad bewandelt. Heeft het jou geïnspireerd? Laat mij het weten. Subscribe, like en vooral blijf kijken. Tot volgende week.